All right. Hello, hello. You're listening to the Lemon Drop Sessions, a podcast about food and music and also genre films. I'm Will, and I'm here with Leanne Bowes. So,
Hey,
hey,
Will.
Leanne, how are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good. It's pretty wild. Leanne is joining me over the internet. She is in California right now. I am in Connecticut, which is a state in the USA, close by New York. Leanne Bowes is the touring bassist, vocalist, multi-instrumentalist, singer-songwriter, performer, and my best friend from high school, Leanne Bowes. That is a joke, Leanne. I know you have many friends across the world now. Leanne just toured the world with Demi Lovato as part of her Holy Fuck tour. We've been setting up this interview for a minute, and it's been cool to sort of see what she's been up to, and I'm really pleased she could join us today. Absolutely. um it is pretty wild because I did kind of know Leanne as a teenager, and it is there's really something to it, I mean, getting to have you on this platform and sort of celebrate your success that way. I'm happy we get to do this. Um, and You've done so much in such a short time, it feels like. We won't get to talk about all of it, so I'll just give people kind of the heads up on what I'm thinking. I mean, so Leanne appeared with Demi Lovato on Jimmy Fallon, where the Roots, the classic hip hop band The Roots, have you know made a claim to late night that way. We're going to talk about Leanne's time with Demi Lovato, um, her Leanne's single called White Glove, which she released under the pseudonym, sorry, Bad Ways, and of course the AMA's performance. Leanne, you appeared at the American Music Awards with Dove Cameron, am I right?
Yes, that's right.
All right, cool, cool, cool. It's just an
Well,
action shot. But
yeah.
you played in Wallingford, and it Oakdale, and it's got history.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, they were super sweet. My family was there, like my grandma came and my mom came and they gave us like a VIP room after the show
Oh,
just
good.
to be nice and that was wonderful. Yeah,
Real quick,
I don't know.
was there stuff in the VIP room, like stuff?
There was no stuff. No.
No, not like no sliced cantaloupe or whatever. I mean, it's a VIP room. Come on.
Yeah, no, not in my VIP room. Yes. Okay. It's actually really cool. So, when you're performing, when you're playing on Fallon, you do your performance. It's to explain the way the stage is set up. It's like you've got the studio audience is there.
Right.
And then it's basically a threefold kind of stage that they kind of use in different ways. So one part of the fold is Jimmy's desk where he interviews people. So if you're sitting in
Hmm.
the studio audience, like that's right to your left when you're looking at the stage. And then you've
Hmm.
got front and center is kind of the like I think they do like if they're getting up and doing something funny or if Jimmy's just doing like his little monologue at the beginning, it's in the center stage. And that's where the band goes when it's time
Right.
to perform. And then
Oh,
there's the roots. The
I did
roots
not know.
section is kind of
Okay.
to the right. So at any given
Right.
time, the audience can be seeing like Jimmy over here doing his interview, maybe the band setting up in the middle, and the roots. That would be like everyone's kind of doing stuff at once.
Nice.
Um,
We'll not get to unpack just how many cool people you've gotten to meet in this industry, for sure, for sure. So we had to pick and choose here. But we actually do, we sort of have these set up so that, musical guests can come back from time to time. And I hope we find a way to do that with you. I know you are busy and all that, but it could be cool.
yeah, definitely.
All right. So I'm gonna try and keep you for a little longer. Are you okay on time, by the way?
Yeah, definitely. Totally.
Nice. I'm glad. All right. Tell me about White Glove, because really you could have released more than one song, I'm sure. So it did seem like sort
Mm-hmm.
of a move on your part, to do this one song as a single at the time that you did it. How much are you thinking about that? Like, because I do think that was smart. Um, and actually, like, I really do remember having some sort of conversation with you when we were very young, that you planned on focusing on being a touring bassist, right? And I was like, Leanne, this is crazy to me. Like, every single other kid from high school wants to put a band together and like release their first album, like just make an entire album of music and release it, and like you have this more
Yeah.
measured approach, like, first of all, you want to show up 3 hours early to a show. I mean, it's gonna blow some minds if they ever, like, if they hear it. It's like, and then yeah, how did you really make that decision to just do one song, not three, not two, like one at the time that you
Yeah.
did?
Wow. I mean, first of all, that's so cool that you have that memory. That's really touching to me because it's sometimes I don't know when I started thinking about this, and like
Hmm.
it is funny and it does kind of make sense that I've been thinking about it for that long. But
Right.
yeah, with White Glove, I mean, here's the thing. That's exactly right. I've always been focusing my energy on being a touring gun. I've never had that bug to like release music all the time. I know
Mm.
people we grew up with, people that I've just met through the years that just have this like they songs come in their head, they just itch to release them and they just have to keep putting music out. And I respect
Right.
it so much. I wouldn't have a job without those people. That's what's amazing. But it's just I've never been
Well.
that way.
Hmm.
My thrill from music has always been kind of on the measured side, the more like I love learning songs and playing them perfectly. Like that's where I get my rocks off. It's like, okay, cool. Like I
Cool.
learned this song in 5 minutes and now I can play it without messing up. Like that's fun to me. That's like a
Nice.
memory game. It's like, and
So true.
that's kind of always been kind of the focus. And it's just, I've always enjoyed it. It's a matter of like, this is my passion. It's just kind of like supporting other musicians and occasionally helping write, in the studio. There's definitely been times where it's like, what should we do here? And I have input. But what happened
Mm.
with Bad Ways, my project is basically like I had finally a moment of like, wow, this stuff's kind of just coming out. I feel inspired. And
Hmm.
so I wrote a couple of songs. I would say I wrote about five. Um,
Cool.
and White Glove was one of them. And then it was just a matter of timing. So I was between tours. It was kind of a moment of like, okay, I can put a lot of resources into one song and just put that out and then kind of see how it goes and kind of sit on the other ones until I'm ready. And that's kind of exactly what I did because it is a matter of like, this isn't my main focus. I don't see it being my main focus anytime soon. However, I will say I do have time off after this next week for the foreseeable future. I mean, couple months potentially. So it's sort of now I am thinking about it. I'm thinking about doing a live show in LA and just sort of thinking about putting a little bit more into that. But yeah, it's really a matter of like writing music has just never really been the focus. And I think people can say that in the opposite way where people write music and they're not really interested in playing for other people. So that's just, I don't know, it's just how I'm wired.
Yeah, we're still kind of working on this element of like blending movies with music. But there's so many ways to do it. I think you'll definitely have to come back, Leanne, if I can get you on the phone another time. That would be really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, Tell me about this restaurant, because I actually saw, like, I mean, you get to rep restaurants from time to time through Instagram, and even get to do some cool like product stuff, right? Like a sponsor now and again. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so so I've always been curious. I like at this point I'm like genuinely curious about, people finding sponsorships, because I have to say it's like most of the sponsorships I have seen from friends of mine or acquaintances, they're pretty on brand. You're not really doing something you're not gonna do. Like you're like
Hmm.
wearing a cool suit, or you work with a certain guitar. um so I was curious, real quick, let's hear your restaurant, and then maybe you can tell me if any restaurants have sponsored you. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask that or something. Like, is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
cool?
No, I mean none have. I mean, so there are times where they'll send you something, and it's just like, oh, if it's a restaurant I like, I'll post about, the shirt they sent me or something. That's as far as it goes with restaurants, is just that type of thing.
Hmm,
But my favorite restaurant is Yamashiro in LA. It
cool.
is a sushi place. It's up
Nice.
in the Hollywood Hills, and it is like, I mean, food is important to me, but ambiance is probably more important to me. And Yamashiro is just this like huge building, like up on the hill, and it overlooks everything, and it's just beautiful. And the food is
Wow.
great. It's great sushi. Yeah,
Wow.
Yamashiro is fantastic.
Wow. That's so interesting. Did you know Yamashiro sushi? You know what? I'm actually not gonna pretend to know anything about sushi right now. Just really focus on the music and touring and stuff like that. Um, I think people in the situation you were just in, right? Like the 10-year thing and um spreading their network and stuff like that, you know, I think the thing that keeps people going but can also slow them down is really their thoughts on a stage persona, you know? And
Mm,
so I was definitely curious how you approach that almost kind of like mythic idea of the stage persona, because you've obviously
yeah,
figured something out.
yeah. Man, I love that question. Well, I think it's just, first
Nice.
of all, there's something to be said about suiting whatever artist I'm playing with. That's something that I think quite a lot about, is just my stage persona that I have with Demi is going to be different than my stage persona. Even with Lily, as an example, this week I played with two different artists, and they're
Right.
sort of two different kind of personas. But one thing that I think is really important is just staying true to myself in some ways, like the things that I want to carry over. It's like my attitude with most things is pretty playful. My attitude with most things is also very um I guess exact in this way. I don't know how to explain it, but I would say if you think of my personality, and it's like, of course I'm not going to be certain things on stage. I'm not going to be like cautious. I'm not going to be like
Right.
serious on stage. There are things I'm not going to be that are parts of my personality, but something that is a part
Cool.
of my personality, let's say playful, is one thing I want to be on stage. So that translates with Demi. It's like I get to just be like extreme, I just get to be like whatever I feel like, kind of, with the music.
Yeah.
But then the same is true with Lily, whose music is a little bit more folky, a little bit more
Lily
like
Mayola, am I right? Am I
yeah.
pronouncing that
Hmm.
right? All right, cool.
Yep. Her music, that's just my example, because like I said, I had a show with each of these artists this past week.
Well, yeah,
That
wow.
that persona is definitely a little more reined in, but I think if you were to watch both of my performances, it's like, oh yeah, that's like the same persona. So I think it's really playing up the things you love about yourself in an interesting way. It's like you're not going to get on stage and be like, you know, the bummers you feel, the things you feel like are a bummer about yourself. You're only going to be these things that you want to kind of have on display. So there's something to be said
Wow.
about that. I think it's very
Wow.
similar concept to like, your Instagram as an example. It's like, the highlight reel, they call it. So
Mm,
you're not gonna necessarily, in standard society, put up things that are a total bummer on your Instagram. You're not going to be like, oh fuck,
right.
I like, overslept today and I miss going to the gym. You're not going to put that shit. You're going to put
And
this when
yet
you did go to the
I
gym.
do think I would read that Instagram for sure, for sure. Just
That is an
I that
interesting element of it. Yeah. But,
um
yeah, I think your persona, and the same goes for bad ways. I think it's just, for me, it's like, it's the harder part of myself. It's the part of myself that's like kind of fearless, is bad ways. So I think, yeah,
nice.
I think that's what it comes down to, is stage personas, is like kind of finding the things that you want to put on display, and then putting those things on display. It's like my
Yeah.
big white whale. It's like I can kind of taste it. It's really close. Um,
Yeah.
but I did get to eat at the cafeteria where all the SNL people eat. That was where I had lunch
That
on
is
my Jimmy
cool.
Fallon
I
days.
mean, what
So,
can I say? It's like doesn't happen every day. Why not? Heck
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. What's good there? I mean, it is a food
Oh
podcast, so
God,
I might as well.
they have everything. It's actually wild. It's actually totally wild. Like, I'm into
Nice.
salad, so I like the salad bar where you can just get to pick anything you want. But they have a sushi bar, they have a pizza bar, they have a pasta bar, they have like everything.
I don't know why that makes me laugh. Just the idea of the SNL cafeteria being like a Wonka factory of food. That's the
It is.
best. I'm sure you will play SNL. Um,
Thanks.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I honestly like I just as we were setting up for this interview, I like just saw my friend Jason Coombs on SNL. He has this skit and he's like in an airplane with Cecily Strong. So, I mean I just saw
Nice.
that like 2 days ago. So I
It's
think
a
you
good
might be a
sign.
shoe-in. It's like if you're
Yeah,
in
that's
good
a good sign. It
company.
feels like good energy. I might get the call really soon. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, do it. More I would I would be very happy to have you back. Real quick, you did this show in a van, and I was really into it. The cinematography, everything,
Yeah.
like you obviously a toned down performance for a smaller space. But it seemed like a party I'd like to go to. Can you talk about that real quick and we'll close it up?
Yeah, it's a series called Jam in the Van. They're really cool. They have different artists there, and that was with Derek Day, who's an artist I love to play with here in LA. He's incredible. He's a guy who I saw perform when I moved to LA, and I was like, holy shit, who is this guy? And then he asked me to play bass for him, like after I was already kind of starstruck. So I was like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah,
Um, I love playing bass for him. So yeah, he's
he
been out
does
on tour. He
seem
plays
pretty
with a
cool.
band. Yeah, he's in a band called Classless Act, and they have been very busy this year. So I
Good.
haven't gotten to play with Derek in a bit, but that was his like trio. He does the Derek Day trio, and so yeah, it was Jam in the Van. I highly recommend like all of the performances you look up. They're all really good. Like you said, the cinematography is so good. The sound mixing is awesome. Um, yeah, and they just kind of like the thing is they like kind of drive around to different events and have people do performances in their van.